Talk where we put the real in real estate. And I've got the real deal Lisa Larson here with us this evening with Restb.Ai. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. Anytime, Ashley. I am such a fan of your show.
Thank you. Well, a lot of people, we've gotten some buzz, we've gotten some interest for tonight's show, and I love it because so many people are saying the robots are taking over and they're trying to replace the agent and the realtor in the transaction. And I think it's amazing that we have you on this evening to say that Restb.Ai and Lisa Larson are saying the exact opposite. We're excited to have you. Now, you are a tech executive with over 20 years experience in prop tech. And you didn't just start in the AI side of the business. So give us a little bit of a background, why you're here, why you love technology, but more importantly, why you really covet what the realtor does in the transaction and your passion for that.
Sure. Thank you for that. And again, thank you for inviting me to speak to your audience. Like you, I started in technology when I was 5 years old. I've been in it for 25 years now. And funny, I actually started my career in prop tech, started at Realtor.com. And I
Yep.
got a really great experience of how realtors were leveraging, a portal back then, right? When the
Yep.
internet was so new, and how do we leverage this and how do we market properties to the masses in a way that's going to be able to showcase the agent. I then went on to work for an MLS. I worked for a homegrown MLS in Hawaii for 4 years. Then I really started getting into building products. I've always loved real estate. So being behind the scenes and building products has just brought me so much joy. When you fast forward to where I am now in my career and working with AI, I mean, obviously AI is everywhere. I started with Restb.Ai a couple years ago. I just saw the writing on the wall. This
Yep.
is coming. I wanted to get out in front of it. I wanted to be able to participate in a way that was going to put guardrails up around the technology, because at the end of the day, we ask ourselves two questions, right? What problem are we trying to solve? How are we using this technology to help agents attract buyers, transactions, and so forth? And the
Sure.
other one is to always keep the agent at the center of the technology. So I think as long as we do that, the robots won't take over. And so those are very important mission statements to us.
Well, and I was kind of thinking about this morning while I was trying to get my head wrapped around how we're going to do the show and how we kind of bring it to the forefront of understanding that we're just a conduit, right, Francie? We're trying to have fun here tonight. So, this is the kind of, and you think about it, I'm like, I'm looking at my shower and I'm looking at my little space heater that I brought into my bathroom because it's the coldest room in my house. And, I've got that amplifying heat, and I've got, a smart app on my phone for my security system and all these other things. And it's like, technology has evolved so much. Once upon a time, we didn't even have electricity, running through our homes. And I'm sure the generations preceding us were probably saying the same things, right?
Mhm.
The evolution of what we're doing and how we're utilizing technology and the everyday life was very scary and unnerving. But I loved what you said is how can you create guardrails around it so we protect the integrity of what the realtor and the real estate profession is truly here to do, and that is consumer advocacy and making sure that we can handhold, that we can do the crux of the business that the robots can't do,
Right.
and that we have more time for that face to face and really interpersonal interaction with our clients. And I think that's amazing what you guys are doing, and personally for you, Lisa, your passion behind all of that. So before we get into it, we're going to get a couple examples so people
Okay.
can kind of wrap their brain around what you guys are doing there. But can you give us the quick snapshot before we go to the video of what y'all's mission is at Restb.Ai?
Sure. And when you look at AI, it's such a broad term, right? You have generative AI that uses imagery and analyzes images and said, like behind me, what am I looking at? What's in it? What type of sky? What type of plane is this? And so forth. Then you
Sure.
have then you have the AI that's actually going to generate copy, right? We're actually the chat GPTs of the world. I'm going to generate copy. I'm going to generate images based off what you're inputting in. We have machine learning, LLM models. For us specifically, we are in the generative AI. We use computer vision to analyze property photos, right? And from analyzing those images, then we think of different ways that we can use that data to solve use cases. The first and most important one is, how do we speed up the listing input process, right? When you look at a listing, the amount of time it takes for a listing agent or their team to put a listing into the MLS platform, on a good day, it could take half hour to 40 minutes, right? Coming up with the description and putting all the images up and the captions, and that's putting everything in the complete form. The other idea was also to make sure we add as much information in there as possible. I think in the tech world, there's a lot of misconceptions about, well, agents maybe don't want to put all the information in there. And my response is always the same. And a listing agent's job is to do what? To market a home. They're going to put the lens on that is going to market the home. They're not necessarily going to put different attributes or features that are in that photo that don't lend to what that objective is. And so when you think about adding as much data as you can, we're able to complete all the missing fields. We can add layers and layers of data on it, because in essence, that also then allows us to create these really cool, robust searches. So if I'm looking for something very specific in a property, and I've been able to now tag that photo with whatever that feature is, a spiral stairway, I want it, a Jack and Jill, a certain flow of the property, that all of that information is just going to be able to attract more buyers to the listing. So we like to layer as much information in there as possible. And then of course, creating all the property descriptions, photo captions. You guys are all hearing about, ADA compliance and alt text. Alt text is a way of us putting all the data, again, the picture behind me. If I can put all the information behind the photo in a way that somebody with a seeing disability can use a screen reader and understand what they're looking at, that's also going to solve that. And it's just making us be really good human beings, because now anybody that can't see, they still want to buy a property, that's going to be able to explain to them that this is a long driveway, or it's got walk up steps, or if I have a seeing disability, I need to know there's natural light. All of the things I think the seeing community takes for advantage, we're able to put that a part of the listing too, and help people that aren't as fortunate as us. But seeing is
Lisa,
believing. So
yeah, I know. So let's hold on one second, because that is what I think is so cool. And as you were talking, the thing that popped into my head, and before we see this wonderful video in just a second, is when I go to buy, especially when I'm buying online, there are certain things that online description still isn't telling me. Like, right, that flat description of plug and play. I think of Amazon. You go on, you've got the property description. They've got their fillable fields for the people that are selling these things, specs and size and all of this other stuff. But then we go to the reviews. Why do we go to the reviews? Because there are other people that saw through a different lens something about this product that is super helpful for me to discern whether or not I want to buy these leggings that are great for working out. And I need to understand the people that have flexed these leggings. I was just looking at this the other day. So I'm sitting here and looking at it. I'm like, hey, that looks great on the model. But I need to understand, is this good for working out? Is this just something I'm running to the grocery store for? And that might be a very a funny analogy when we're looking at that. But I needed more data and information to make an informed decision to purchase. And we all purchase that way. But then we demonize when we're using technology in a professional realm because we're scared it's going to make us less useful, when in turn, it could actually shorten that time period in which somebody says, no, I feel like I have enough information to actually discern whether or not I want to make this purchase. So let's show the people
I actually
what it's
love
doing.
The leggings example too, because another layer that we're able to put onto this is having an FHA, right? We live in a time now that we can't use terms like, this is a nice cul-de-sac for a young family with young children. You have to say these leggings are meant for everybody in co-ed. It doesn't matter if you're a he or she, right? And the same applies to the property. We have to remove the bias. And this technology, listing agents' job is to sell properties. It's not to put technology in. And I always will defend the agent in that role. So with that being said, if we have technology in play that's going to make sure that you're not saying this is a great home if you have good credit or for a new starter family, Unfortunately, we can't use those terms, but you know what? Your MLS and your brokers and your associations can put in layers of data to make sure that no one is, getting in trouble for a very innocent representation of a property.
100%.
We just want to protect our agents from that happening.
Amen to that. So let's create a listing, Lisa.
Let's do it. So I'm going to hit play. Producer Parker. So this is going to be an illustration of an agent uploading 50 photos into their MLS platform. For those of you that are part of Netris or HAR, this is, we allow this to happen in CoreLogic. So you're going to see immediately what's happening is we're going through and we're tagging every room, living room, bathroom, kitchen, and so forth. Again, that speaks to ADA compliance. It's going to help us use those tags in those rooms and other searches. We're also going to be able to go in and do all the image detection. Is this a dual oven top? Is there an ice maker in here? These are all the additional tags that we're able to identify that we're seeing in the photo. And one thing to always point out is it's always the agent's final editorial right. If the agent knows that the washing machine and dryer is not part of the listing, they can uncheck that. All we're doing is adding all the information in. We're creating captions next to each photo. Again, not only is that for ADA, but obviously it gives more information about what you're looking at. We also have staging. There's so many amazing virtual staging products that are out there with AI, and we could talk about that a little bit later. Making sure that there's no violations or children in the photos. We can make sure that all the branding. And then this is what you guys all probably know as the ChatGPT. We're able to come in and create these really cool, robust listing descriptions and have different tones to it, standard, description, playful. There's a lot of amazing companies out there that are doing this, and that's how long that took. I usually have the audience time it, but that literally is from
that's amazing.
In uploading a listing into, again, whether you're with Netris or one of the Texas MLSs.
So before we go on to the next couple of examples, though, this would really cut down on me yelling at my husband, who actually is now a licensed agent. We always laugh. It's always like the husband gets licensed once the wife is a realtor, but it would really cut down on his errors. And that would be fantastic because sometimes, my husband isn't as detail oriented as I'd like in pulling things out of the photos or the listing. But no, I think that was, I know, poor Reese. That's my husband, Lisa.
Well, I mean, when you're coming up and I wish for every agent to have a ton of listings, right? It takes a listing to get a listing.
Yeah.
But my God, to come up with a creative listing description every time. This really lends to that. It's able to help you get more creative in your writing process. Like, listen, if we were writers, we'd be writers. We are in real estate. Our job is to help a homeowner through the buying process.
Yes.
And it is one of the most important, I think, functions of a professional in our country. It's such an honor to be able to own a home. And so I think this really helps lend to that. And it allows the agents to do what they do best. Get back out on the kitchen table and have that conversation and hold somebody's hand through the biggest purchase of their life.
Well, if nothing else, my husband should be happy that I have multiple guys defending his honor in the chat.
I've seen this.
Yeah. But no, that's worse. And Andrea, I agree. The descriptions are the worst, especially when you don't care for the home. And so there has to be passion behind what you're selling. And that doesn't mean the product is not a good product. It's just, it's hard, especially if that creative writing process is not something that you flourish with. I think that's something for me, it takes me a minute to kind of get in that zone, and I need to be in that mode to really write a well-crafted listing description. So even to use AI as a starting point, it doesn't have to be the end. It's just a good starting point to say, oh, that's fantastic. Now let me massage that a little bit and let me add a little bit of seasoning that I prefer a little bit better. And then that cuts down on the time incredibly. So let's go to a couple of those examples, Lisa.
And your homeowner is very happy. Your homeowner walks away saying, what a wonderful representation of my property. I picked the right professional to do this. And whether you're using it within your MLS or the third-party solutions that are out there, because there's a lot of them, or even engaging with ChatGPT yourself, I can tell you, I appear a lot smarter in my emails that I send out because I'm using it constantly. It's a tool. right?
Well, you know what's funny, before we go into this and talking about the segue into what's the critical mass thing that we always are talking about, especially with buyers, but I was talking to a lender, actually Mark, who's on the chat today, and he was sitting there and he was saying, I have this really well crafted email, and I think it's just AI that sent me like a lead. It was just a random lead because the email was just too well written. And then the guy responded back and was like, well, did you get my email? And he was like, oh, you're a real person. That's an exact example of when we might sound a little bit smarter using some of these tools or conversational than we are in real life. But no, so Lisa, what's on our screen right now?
So again, I'll go back to, I'm not a fan of, I just want to build tech to build it. I always go back and ask that fundamental question is, what are we trying to solve? Right?
Right.
Number one complaint, or the most common complaint from a buyer's agent, is my buyer doesn't know what they want. Right?
Yep.
Whether it's because we're talking Mars and Venus, we all have different ways of describing what we want. Sometimes we don't exactly know what it is. And so we wanted to solve that. And so we created a platform called MLS Match. It actually goes, this is one example that it would go into One Home for those of you that use One Home, but it can go into any broker portal. It can go anywhere. The idea is you can upload a photo of an image that you're interested in. And I love using the idea. I like to entertain. I want an extra large kitchen island. I can send this photo either to my realtor, or we can do it in our shared portal, upload it, and it's going to show every single active listing that matches that image. And what's better is it's going to start from that photo. There's this misconception, I think, within the publishing world that, oh, if I get you to stay on my website longer, I'm not going to let you look at the kitchen until the 8th photo. You're going to look at more. And yeah, newsflash, after like 3 properties, I'm going to bounce off your site. We live in a time and an era that we want immediate results. So if the kitchen's the most important, let me start from there first, and then let me look at the secondary and third and so forth. And I love this tool because I just imagine, I always go back to the realtor. I imagine like a little, a local barbecue with the neighborhood community. And one of the, homeowners, Ashley, is saying, but does your agent do this? I can send a picture to my agent driving down the street of an exterior of something I like, and they're going to show me every active listing. Am I going to buy that active listing? Maybe not. But you know what? If I've created a tool that has somebody raise their hand and say, Ashley, I need help and this is what I'm looking for, then I feel like we've solved that, right? And now it's up to you to be able to continue to massage that relationship and get them into the home that they're looking for.
No, that's absolutely amazing. Let's go into that first example so people can see a visual representation of just that.
So I created a couple videos on this just so you can see. If you hit play, they're only like 5, I think, seconds each. But the whole idea is, okay, I'm going to upload this photo, and oh my God, I was driving down the street and I love that French farmhouse style. Do you have any active listings that match that? Voila, yes, we do. We can get really granular on this. I have a couple other ones too, if you want to look at a couple of the other videos.
Let's keep going.
So this one is you need to hit the next slide.
Next one.
Mr.
We just
Parker.
love that so much.
Yeah.
There we go.
So it's really interesting too, because, maybe I want a floor to ceiling doors in my primary bedroom. Do you have any active properties that I love having that exterior door that I can walk out to my pool or walk out into my garden? Other examples that we use, and if you want to keep going, I can kind of talk through it. Like maybe I'm just interested in a blue kitchen. Another example that we use is maybe it's even the stairwell. I have young children, I have toddlers. I don't want to invest into a property that doesn't have a stairwell that my kid's not going to fall over. So maybe as a young mother, the thing that I'm looking at, or a young father of young toddlers, is I'm going to look at the stairway first because I'm going to have a 2-story house, right? It's all to make the agent look smarter. My grandmother grew up in a brownstone. I want brick entryway. I mean, the fact that we can match, and this technology is AI technology that uses fingerprinting. So it's not using tags like you saw in the upload process. This is a
Right.
fingerprinting technology that is matching similarities with similarities, whether it's an A-frame house or a blue kitchen, or if outdoor entertaining is what's important to you. This is a great way of being able to engage with your consumer. And then the next step is, and I know we can get into it, is, there's so many amazing tools that you can say, well, maybe this is not exactly what I want, but what I'm looking for is something more with hardwood floors, or a blue room, or a this or a that. Now you get into all of the really cool virtual staging products, like Reimagine Home is one that I'm just so excited about, that you're able to actually go in. And I just imagine a buyer's agent walking around a house, and the potential buyers are like, well, I was really hoping it would have different floors, or I was really hoping that it had beam ceilings. There is technology out there that you can say, here's the photo, let me click on it, and I'm going to show you what this looks like that with those beam ceilings, or I'm going to show you what that. And it really puts the buyer's agent in that consultative driver's street that says, you're not going to find exactly what you want, but look, if this is what you're looking for, I can help you visualize it, right? And so
Yeah.
that's where the tools of AI come in play, and they're assisting the agent with their profession, not getting in front of it.
No, I love that, Lisa. And of course, I knew we would get some questions once we started looking at the technology. So one was, can you narrow it down by area, city, etc.?
Yeah. So in the MLS match one, for example, that is going in, for those of you familiar with a company called CoreLogic,
Yep.
Black Knight, which is now called ICE. Both of those companies are building it into their platforms for all their
Okay.
MLS customers. CoreLogic's putting it into their one home product, which was my suggestion, because that's where the agent client portal is, right?
Sure.
It doesn't have to go in those, but that's how we kind of took the first approach on it. And then, yeah, you would be able to then narrow it down based on, the price and the bedrooms and the bath and so forth. The way that these project managers have built this out based on the vision that I had on how this would match is just amazing. And I do believe you guys are getting it at Netris. So they're in the process of getting all of that completed, including the listing upload. Cindy Miller and John Hawley, I mean, I'm just huge fans of everybody over there. And they really wanted to send a message to their member subscribers. It's business as usual. We're going to invest in tech to help you.
Yeah.
Amidst all the chaos that's going on in our industry, we're still to help you. We got your backs. And so they're all at Inman. They're not seeing this. And so
No, they're not. They are all at Inman right now. But Amy, to your question, where's this technology in our MLS? If you're a member of or subscriber of Netris, it sounds like it is coming. And we will make sure from the MetroTech side that we get up-to-date information so we can kind of set that expectation as we get closer to roll out that implementation. So it's super exciting. But this is what's great, is to know this is coming. So when it actually does come, our subscribers through MetroTech and through Netris will know exactly the product. Yeah, I know.
Yay.
Classic.
The listing input process will probably be within the next 60 days. That's already been hard coded. And the MLS match will definitely be in Q1. So it's all going live. I've been working with Netris for 2 years on this. So
wow.
This is, yeah. Exciting.
Cheers to that.
It's like Christmas. Yeah. Cheers.
It's like Christmas.
Do we get a drink? It's about that time.
We do get a drink. So that's what's in the smaller Stanley for this evening. But, I think going back to, again, the technology is amazing, but really trying to get people to wrap their heads around why embracing this type of technology is not only a should you, but oh my gosh, why wouldn't you? Because I think, Lisa, you've been in our space since you've been a wee little baby, right? Just as I have. And so we've seen the evolution of the industry and how we do business with little technology to now the amassing of technology over the years. And it seems like every month is like a year when it comes to new technology that's coming into our space. And it is scary.
Sure.
It wasn't too long ago that we still had MLS books. I mean, when
Yeah.
I actually was in the business
cards.
starting, all that stuff, so it is difficult when the rapid rate of progress is happening. Once you start to learn one piece of technology or one form of doing things, it rapidly changes. And my biggest thing is I want to spend more time with my clients doing what I do best. And that's really honestly enveloping them with my knowledge and my advocacy and my support, and sitting there when it is, gosh, man, we are in 40 places at once. And it's not just a realtor. The consumer's in 40 places at once. Everybody is leveraged for time more so than they were decades ago. And so if we can cut down on the time, that is huge. And we've said this for years. You've got to learn how to replace yourself in that more administrative role. And that doesn't mean that people that do administrative work are not worthy, but especially me, I'm doing my own administrative work at this juncture. And so if I can cut down and from an hour-long listing input process, and instead of taking an hour to do that, I can turn around and spend another 45 minutes with my seller instead of 45 minutes on a listing. That's time well spent, because I have to quantify what that time looks like. And that's really what I want agents to start thinking again. Are you, Lisa the realtor, are you doing $20 an hour work with 80% of your time? Or are you doing the $500, hour work with 80% of your time? And that's what people need to help themselves get over this hump. Again, we kind of talked about in the beginning of the show that even on our Real Talk advertisement, we had people commenting, it's taking over real estate. They're trying to get rid of realtors. No, we need to get realtors back to doing the bigger portion of their business and not get entrenched in that $20 an hour administrative work.
Yeah. Slowing down the pace, controlling the narrative, and using the technology to help make them work smarter, right?
Yeah.
And be more efficient with their time. And I think that this is something, if you lean into it. In May of last year, I had to go and speak at the MLS forum. It was the biggest, during NAR. I couldn't even see the end of the room. It was massive. And those were all the questions that were being asked back then. What are the guardrails we're putting in place? And so I am a big believer of putting those guardrails in place. And there are so many smart people in our industry that are all rallying together and to uplift our agents, especially with everything that's going on right now, that I don't think that there's any mischievous use of this technology that's intended at all. We want to protect this idea of, not to get into politics, but there's a reason we have a two-party system, right? Checks and balances. We need listing agents and buyer's agents, and too many things can go wrong during the process. And that's why we have to make sure that the consumer doesn't lose. We also need to make sure that the agent doesn't lose. We're all part of that ecosystem. And so, guardrails in place is always going to be of the utmost importance. I mean, I think of OpenAI, and I think about this idea of how much data that we are putting into this OpenAI source, right? We've had brokers and associations and MLSs and really smart prop tech people that have done a really good job of getting their arms wrapped around the data to make sure that there's no misuses of it. And that applies there too. There's very big, important conversations that are being had around this. And I encourage you all to continue to, partake in those conversations. Any leadership that's on this webinar or anybody that wants to be in leadership, because we need all the smart people we can to make sure we're staying out in front of it.
No, that's fantastic. And I was going to see if our fearless president-elect of MetroTech, Johnny Moad, was sitting here with us tonight, because he's the one that introduced us, and he is exceptionally involved in the MLS space, in the MLS world, and he's putting together a phenomenal panel in February in Austin for our state governance meeting, where we'll be talking more about this kind of stuff.
He's the one that sent me to DC to have me speak on it. I am a huge fan of Johnny's. Yeah.
Oh, he is. And that's how you and I met. And I told you this before. in the hallway because I'm a creature of habit. I need my snacks and my drinks when I go and travel. And so I was Instacarting all of my stuff and walking through the hallway like a crazy person. And you actually grabbed a case of my water or something else, and you were helping me walk through the hallway. He's like, "Do you know who just helped you carry your Instacart?" And I'm like, "Tell me more. Who is Lisa?" But I think that's also a testament to who you are, Lisa, that you are here not to sell technology platforms. You are immersed in our industry and here to try to figure out what you can do, and your company that you work with, how to better serve our industry and protect what we do the most. And I think that's great. Let's kind of reshape the conversation just a little bit, because again, I think sometimes it's hard. We can sit there and say, well, what is this going to look like for my buyers, and how are they really going to be able to use this? But this technology is already out in the shopping space, right? We've got Pinterest, we've got Google imagery. I mean, heck, my 10-year-old was teaching me how to use it on Pinterest and Google just last month because she wants to redo her bedroom. And there was this specific aesthetic. It had no name. It wasn't like, I want it in checker print and I want these paintings and everything else, but she had seen all these photos, right, on YouTube videos and influencer posts and all of this other stuff. So it was all these photos that she's seeing, but she didn't even know how to put a name to it. And so she sent me the images and we put it in Pinterest, and all of a sudden it pops up and she's like, "I don't even know what it's called, Mom." And I was like, "It's called Eclectic Retro." Okay. And so that's what all these little posts in Pinterest were coming out. And so I did it. And she was like, "That's it. That's amazing." Yeah. And so to tie it back to what you were saying, where it's like buyers don't even know what they do know what they want. They don't know how to verbalize or articulate it in a searchable way. And I think that's amazing, because if my 10-year-old is telling me a more efficient way of how to redecorate her room so I don't get yelled at, that's the same thing with the buyer. They might not be able to say, "I want to buy 123 Maple Street," but they might say, "I love this kitchen that I saw in Architectural Digest or House or somewhere else. And this is the most important thing to me, and send it to me and let me see what I can do." And I think that's amazing to give me those type of tools and resources to be able to close that communication gap.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of, don't force consumers to search the way that you want them to.
Yes.
Just listen to what they're saying.
Yeah. Oh no, we got stuck for a minute on Lisa. So we will continue to talk just in a second. You know what? And in the background, Parker, if you don't mind, while we get Lisa pop back on, let's kind of bring back. There she is.
There. No, that was strange.
That's okay. I'm sitting here in real time. This is live, right? And I'm like, hey, while we're waiting for Lisa, let's bring back a video.
Aren't you impressed with AI?
Yeah, well,
I'm actually a hologram. I am not real.
Yeah, she's not real. Nope, there she is. So we're good. This is just still, technology isn't perfect.
Right. That's why we still need human beings. It's just this idea that if I can allow a consumer to communicate to me what it is they're looking for and not force them the way I want them to, with like a drop down or a radio button, or like, we're visual people, right? And to be able to allow them to search like that, and then also look, we all know the stats. X percentage of consumers that did a transaction won't use their agent again.
Yep.
But when you ask them, was it a bad experience? They're like, well, no, not really. Well, where is the disconnect? Where's the stickiness that allows them to say, my agent kept doing this for me, or I was able to search in a way that it made sense to me, and so forth. I mean, I envision a world that the Waymo is going to be sent out, and my buyers are all in the Waymo car, and my hologram is waiting in each of the properties, and I'm doing a webinar with you, but I'm showing them a property over there, and we're stylizing it at the same time. But it's all going to be driven around me or you, the agent. It's your branding and how you interact with your consumer that they feel comfortable with you. And so I think, as weird as it sounds, this type of AI is comfort AI, because it allows me to search in a way that's familiar in a visual search in that example.
Well, look, I mean, there's different things that happen, and we have people have to realize that AI is just about in everything they're already using. How about your TikTok feed? It's your For You page is what it's called. And as you're spending time looking at certain things, the technology is sitting there and saying, hey, you gravitate towards these type of videos, so we're going to
Yeah.
show you more. And then that means people are going, I'm having a more pleasurable experience on this type of platform, right? And so they're spending more time on that platform. And I think that's the crux of what we're trying to do, is sit there and turn around and saying, this is great. You're actually speaking
Yeah.
my language. You're reading my mind, Lisa. I can't articulate it, but you're figuring out. I mean, that's the greatest compliment with my clients, when they're like, I don't know what my aesthetic is, or I don't know what I'm looking
Yeah.
for. I know what I'm not looking for, but and then to all of a sudden say, hey, I think this is what you mean, and to have additional tools to kind of help me get to that place a lot faster, I
Yeah.
think is amazing.
I get in
Go ahead.
trouble. I sometimes get in trouble, and I have to be careful when I say this. My husband is Greg Larson, who owns Clarity. And so
Yeah.
all the Clarity dashboards, and, he's been in this industry for a very long time. And so I use this term, and he always says, please be careful when you say that. But I like to look at some of these newer AI tools as though they're speeding up the transaction process.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is when I go back and I look at the traditional searches that started with like the newspaper sites and Classified Venture and MSN House and Homes and, and all
Yep.
the big portals, there's a reason we created the term real estate porn, right? The idea is I want you to keep coming back and maybe not necessarily find exactly what you want. On this side of the camp, I want an agent to be able to give that consumer what they're looking for sooner rather than later. If I
Yep.
held my hand up that I want something, where is the disconnect from putting them in what they're looking for? They said they want to find real estate, at some time in that 7 years or whatever that time span is. So using behavioral analytics and predictive analytics and tools like this that can say the buy indicator is there. There is no reason I shouldn't speed up the listing process if I showed you what you wanted, Ashley. If you were able to
Yeah.
communicate to me, this is exactly what I want, other than obviously having like the financial side of it and making it work as far as the numbers go, there's no reason that you shouldn't step forward. And I really try to lean into this technology as a way to speed up that transaction process.
Well, and that's exactly what Andrea just said. The sooner we can find the house, the sooner we can close. I'm like, that's exactly, and that's what everybody wants. Now,
Yeah.
now some people are sadists, Lisa, and they just want to drag out the process because they need something to do with their lives, on the consumer side. But those are the exceptions, not the rule.
Yeah.
Most people want to
Yeah.
expedite
Well,
the
I'll sell
process.
sell them 2 houses or 3 houses, then not just
Yeah.
one.
No, that's fantastic, and that's what I said. I mean, I think it was, and I can't remember the article, and I think it was an NAR article or something else that came out. It said 98% of people buy online. They just go to the house to verify their decision. Like, they've looked online. I mean, how many people are like, "This is my house. Like, I have
Yeah.
to go see this house. This is my house."
They're doing the
And then
sniff test.
they're doing they're doing the sniff test. So they just go to the house to confirm they weren't sold a bill of goods, and everything else. All right, Sharon, hold on one second. You don't have to talk about the investment because Sharon probably just jumped on here just a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
But
Hi,
this is something
Sharon.
that eventually is going to be implemented here in Q1, right?
Yeah. This
Into
is,
Netris.
yes, Netris purchased this on behalf of their subscriber members. So it's a member value add, if you will. They thought it was really important to be able to provide this service to their membership. So as long as you're a member in Netris, it's available. We do have some of the technology that's also installed at HAR. I'm a big fan of Bob and Sean and
Yeah.
everybody over there. So we're slowly making our way across the country. I think we're in something close to like 70 MLSs now, and it's just, it's just game on because now it's safe. We understand
Yeah.
what it is. 2 years ago, everyone was like, wait, what is AI? Can you help human intelligence before you bring on artificial intelligence? Like the things I heard. Now it's everywhere, right? And now
Yeah.
your MLSs and associations have really stepped up in a way of saying, we want to give this service to our agents and we're not going to charge them. So bravo to those teams.
No, I think that's amazing. And you've talked about a bunch of things, and one is, I love the term, how do we create stickiness, and how do we do that? Because there's a lot of times that people get excited about the process up front, and then it flattens out and they ultimately go back on the sideline. And I think if we're being able to curate this very personal experience, specifically on the buying side, obviously, we're talking about what it does on the listing side. It positions us for the best listing data and marketing possible. But on the buying side, I'm tired of buyers getting lethargic because they're seeing these listings pop in and they don't check any of the boxes. And that's so hard when they're seeing that. And so I think that's going to cut down a lot on that. And I think that is
create that connection, right?
Yes.
Gone will be the days of, a buyer's agent showing 30 properties and then the buyer's cousin slid in with, I'll make the offer for you. Right? The idea is that we can create these tools that the buyer looks at their buyer's agent and says, this is where I have to go to get this. And I'm willing to sign a paperwork that says you will represent me because you have these fantastic tools to not only help me get that property, but also when I look at the next step too, again, I use a lot of these tools out that, again, I'll use like Reimagine Home is one of them. Now that I put a buyer in a home, what a great way to have that ongoing connection. I like that you're sending me my monthly or quarterly reports on how much the value of my home is worth and I have equity in it. And that's great.
Right.
But gosh, what if you sent me a tool that said, hey, Ashley, if you want that eclectic look in the bedroom for your daughter now, here's a tool that you can upload the photo of your property that you bought. If you want to change the style, you're going to want to keep remodeling it every few years anyway. And now suddenly that's sticky content that I'm feeling like the agent has given me, and it's in a protective way that I can engage with, and it's not some open source that I'm just sending it out into the abyss, right? So those are the types of tools that I'm seeing getting excited about, like CRM companies using it, and the ReChats of the world, and the Percy AIs that are doing tons of work on that side too. There's just so much tech that's out there that as more of these companies use them and put them in the tools that your agents are already buying, then that's the win, right?
Well, and I think it's great is going back to, man, and it goes so fast when you start getting excited and passionate. We've got about 15 minutes left, and talking about that. And from the association side, our goal, whether it's Netris or Metrotex, is to bring these resources to our members and make sure that we are making their lives easier and the process more efficient for them to be able to serve the consumer. Because Lisa, let's not, forget what's going on in our industry right now. I mean, we're under attack for, yes, Sherry, this is coming to Netris. Thank you. Sherry Godot is one of our
You get AI.
staff. Yes. She's one of our amazing staff members as well at Metrotex. But,
cool.
And so it's one of those things, though, Lisa, when we're constantly under attack right now for the lack of value proposition we are providing the consumer, we have to look at it from every angle. And that doesn't mean just this type of product, just AI and this type of robust experience, but we need to create more time and bandwidth in what we're doing and really accelerate the type of experience that we're giving, the stickiness and the efficiency and all of those things. Technology is a big part, but also just that human connectivity. And if we're entrenched in, because hopefully, as a realtor, you're not working one client at a time, and sometimes that happens. But right now, I was sitting here today, I was out at an inspection for 2 hours because it's pouring outside, so it delayed us. And then I have another one as a listing agent, where I've got, a myriad of repairs that came through, and I'm trying to like dig in and do all those other things, but I've got other things going on, and I'm entrenched in just the daily activity of triaging, my deals. And that's not what my clients always want from me. They want me triaging the deals, but there's other things that are happening at the same time. And so they need me in those circumstances. And if I can offload some of the other stuff in a more efficient manner with technology, my clients don't only need that, they deserve that. And so, I need to figure out, what that looks like. So, I think Lisa got stuck one more time, so we'll wait for her to pop back on. Abe, I don't know what the support email that you need, but feel free to reach out. Reach out to us and let me know. You can go on our website, mymetrotex.com, and find a way to reach out to us for support. But okay, we've got a few more minutes. There she is. You said, uh-oh, and I knew it was happening.
I'm in Arizona and it's raining and the world is upside down because it never rains in Arizona. So I'm so sorry. It's interesting too, because when you look back at the traditional realtor, right? It was a 55-year-old woman. There was a reason for that, right? It was retired teachers, or it was retired professions. It was empty nesters, because there is a lot of hand holding that goes along the way. You're putting out fires. There's a lot of coddling that takes place. So when you add that, as you just so eloquently pointed out, everything that you're doing throughout the day and putting out fires and solving problems, there's also, I think, a huge disconnect in our industry. And we all suffer from this, which is perceived value. Because it's an independent contractor and they're on commission, there's this huge disconnect between the value that buyer's agent, that real estate professional, brings to the buyer. With this whole shakeup that's happening, I'm hoping that comes out more into the light in a way to concrete that relationship and really showcase the importance of the role of the buyer's agent, who is super under scrutiny right now. I don't know if this is 100% true, but I was reading something on Vendor Alley. I believe it was Greg Robertson. I hope I'm not misquoting you. But when that first verdict came in, it's my understanding that none of the jurors were at that time homeowners or hadn't gone through that process. And so that has obviously created this snowball effect now, because we are being, accused of not earning that percentage or not representing the consumer. It's such an important part of the system. And so I know we are all very alarmed by it and trying to figure out, how do we keep, uplifting our buyer's agents to show how much value they bring, and the seller's agents, of course. But to your point, all between the inspections and the appraisals and the AVMs and everything I have to do, and there's so much that can go wrong through that process. And so, I'm just glad that there's platforms like this that we can talk about it. And I hope more of the people at the DOJ are listening, because there's a lot of amazing people that sell real estate, and they're doing it for all the right reasons. So
no, and I think that's amazing. And I think the biggest thing to take away from that, and I've heard the same thing too. And of course, we don't know if it's, none of them had gone through the home buying process, but at the same time, if you haven't, you have no idea. It's the fire hydrant effect. And I think that's the biggest thing, is anybody that's ever worked with a first-time home buyer, they go, oh my gosh, like I had no idea all of this was a part of the home buying process. And so I think the biggest thing is that we have at our, fingertips to do is just to continue to create, that articulation of our value proposition. Like everything I say to is like, what's your value proposition? How are you creating value? And it doesn't matter now, as I'm president of Metrotex this year, and
congratulations, by the way.
Yes, thank you. But it's one of those things where every decision from the board side or a committee side, or just in our organization as a whole, is looking through the lens of, is this a direct value, proposition to our members? And that's from the member side. But it's the same thing that goes to our consumer side. It's like, what I'm doing a direct correlation to a benefit to my clients? And so whether it's at the association level, which every rubric decision, the decision that we're making in every rubric right now we're using is this a value proposition to an individual member, not the organization as a whole, not a volunteer leader or anything else? And Lisa, that's why we're having you on this tonight, and that's why we're so happy to continue to collab on this type of stuff. Continue to create value, guys, and people will not discount what you do, but I think we got away from articulating that value proposition. So, of course, there's Johnny.
Oh, there's Johnny.
Yeah, there's Johnny. Here's Johnny.
Bring Johnny on. Where is he?
Yeah, the MLS is often viewed by the public as a public utility and unfortunately taken for granted. That said, with an association locally, statewide, and nationally diligently working and actively compiling the vast amount of data needing to make the MLS run, of course, it cut off, but that's fine because Johnny's always
compensation and cooperation.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
The
absolutely.
whole reason this all began in the first place was a way to make sure that compensation and cooperation, the consumers protected, the professionals that are representing them are protected, yes, and we can have a shared system. And so, yeah, great comment, Johnny.
No, absolutely. And I think that's what we get away from, and we don't understand, again, what our core competency and value proposition is within all of these things. You know, what are we doing? What is the purpose of the MLS? What is the MLS? What is the purpose of the association? Why does the association exist? Why does agency exist? And I think, you know, I've kind of been on an accountability tour, Lisa, and it's okay when people start questioning things. I think we get really guarded and we're like, no, what we do is really great. And you don't even know what we do. And I sit there and I go, instead of sitting there and getting defensive, I go, why are they even questioning it in the first place?
There's a disconnect. Yes.
Where did we miss the mark? Yeah. in articulating our value? And so then I go, hey, okay, we missed on something. Talk to me more. Why do you feel like we're not providing value? And again, from the MetroTech side, I know that's something that we're talking about a lot is, you know, if our members sit there and say, I'm questioning what my membership does for me, well, then we haven't done a good enough job in articulating what your membership does. It's the same thing that the consumer is doing for the professional agency relationship. They're saying, hey, I don't know what I'm actually compensating you for. And it's not to say that you didn't do a ton of work, Lisa Larson, the amazing realtor. It's just saying, you know, sometimes we kind of take those hits and we don't tell people what we're doing because we don't want to sit there and seem braggadocious, or we want to protect you. But then the consumer doesn't know how much we are advocating on their behalf. And so I think there's a happy medium trying to figure out how we do that. But the goal is to figure out the disconnect to what you just said, whether it's the MLS, whether it's the association, whether it's a realtor with the relationship with their client. If somebody's questioning, don't get defensive, more so just understand, hey, I hear there's a disconnect, and let's look more into that. So that being said, we've got a few more minutes that you get to pour into these amazing people that are tuned in this evening. So Lisa, what's something that we haven't touched on tonight that you want to make sure that our members and the people watching tonight really kind of understand? What, maybe it's Restb.Ai, maybe it's one of your passion projects. You know, let's kind of leave the last few minutes with a discussion around that.
Yeah. I mean, you know, obviously for me, when I go and I look at what are we trying to do for our industry and for realtors, what are we trying to solve, right? We want to help them generate business. We want to help transactions move smoother. We want to be able to help showcase them and brand them in a positive light. I mean, just going back to what you were saying, I'm part of the Realtor Relief Committee. So I sit as one of the advisors over there. And that is a huge passion project for me. I had presented at Clarity last year with Dave Sharon, who is the former CEO of Bright MLS. And I broke down in tears on stage because you think about these natural disasters that happen, and they were delivering. No homeowner has been turned away that has asked for money for the Realtor Relief Program, right? And so for me, that's huge passion for all of the, and I say this, and I know it just like drives my tech people crazy. You know, we've had our hand out, you know, making money from this industry. It's really important that we give back and start to promote and what is the branding and what does the realtor do. And seeing a realtor be able to go and deliver a check to a homeowner that they helped them buy the house 10 years ago that now just got flooded, right? And bring clothes to their children. That is such a wonderful cause.
Yep.
And I would love to see NAR. I've yet to see a national commercial about that. What is a realtor?
Yep.
What does a realtor do? Right? We spend so much money campaigning and lobbyists, and we're in election season. You guys see all the money being spent. I'd like to see some of that money being spent on the branding of just the realtor and the role that they play in that very important ecosystem.
No, and that's what Sherry was saying. Most people don't know that the relief fund is for members of the public and realtors. And, that's the whole point, is that we are not, look, I won't sit there and say as a whole, every realtor is for, community activism and
Sure.
making sure that we're, advocating for the individual homeowner. But as a whole, as our industry, that is what we are. We are community driven. We are advocates for homeownership, but it doesn't just end transactionally at the closing table. And we're continuously reinvesting in the communities that we serve. And I think that is amazing. And thank you, Lisa, for serving in that capacity too. And it just humanizes what we do. And I think sometimes we take the human element out. I mean, we're talking about technology, and then we go back to this human element, which I think is fantastic, because technology is there as a tool, not as a replacement. And I think that's what people need to understand. In fact, you're in Arizona right now, where it's raining and technology is not your favor. We're sitting here and you popped off a couple of times. Now, thankfully, you popped back on, so I didn't have to carry the show on by myself. But technology isn't perfect. We still need humans to propel, that portion of it. And so, I think it's what you've talked about this evening is phenomenal. And as an association, I will tell you, I think we've talked about, maybe like an AI certification program or other things that we can do as the realtor organization, as Metrotex, as a local association, instead of this being scary and demonizing bringing this technology in. Let's really embrace the educational aspect of teaching people how to use AI to create more one-on-one human connection with their clients. And I think there's an amazing opportunity to do that.
You need to go across the country to all the associations, because you are really that ongoing lean into the technology.
Yes.
That's what you do. You are there to make sure that you're vetting the companies, and you're there to make sure that the certificates and credentials, that it is something that is going to be helpful, that your agents aren't led astray to invest the amount of money that agents have to invest to even get their business up and off the ground. You could argue a lot of those tools aren't even necessary at that phase in their career. And so what did that workflow look like? And these are the tools you're going to need now, and these are the tools you're going to need 6 months from now, and so forth. And just get back into old school training and support and ongoing education. I love that.
No, so it's phenomenal. And I think that's what the goal was tonight. And again, to circle back to the beginning of the show where I said there were some people coming through and talking about robots are going to take over, and we're going to be replaced as realtors and everything else. And we've heard, but Lisa, you've been in this business for a long time too. How many times have we heard that we're going to be pushed out because the realtor is no longer going to be able to really advocate for their value proposition? I think all we've seen is sometimes it muddies the waters, and it just more clearly makes the ask that I need a realtor advocate with all of this technology and all of these platforms. It's clear as mud for me. So I really need somebody like Lisa or Ashley or one of the amazing members that are sitting here tonight to sit there and cut through all the noise. And that's our role, guys, is to cut through the noise and figure out how to do that. So Lisa, when's the next time we're going to see you in person?
I know. Well, I will be at Clarity in that's one coming. I did want to answer the question, is there anything similar with Remind coming?
Yep.
we've pretty much the last couple of years, I've laid the groundwork and put together the partnerships with every MLS vendor out there. We are in the final stages of Remind. Their CEO, Dave, shout out to you. He's amazing. I'm really impressed with what he's doing. So yeah, that is also part of the solution that he wants to be able to offer. You know, Remind, it's not only like the platform, but they have the farming tool. I know like FMLS, Jeremy and Marsha and them really love that. And so some of those guys in Austin have been like, can you just please get it done? So a lot of what I do is just in response to the MLS is saying, we need this for our agents. Lisa, go put together the partnership with X vendor and so forth. So that's definitely happening. We're literally just in redlining with Remind right now.
Awesome. Well, Abe, great comments. We appreciate it, man. And Lisa, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I look forward to seeing you in May again. In Boston this time.
I'll help you carry your
DC.
Snacks.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. No, help me carry my stuff. If you don't mind, I'll have an Instacart full. And so I'll see you in DC in May. And then, you know, I think we've got a lot of work to do. We're super excited. Apparently, is this what's going on too? I'm doing my thumbs up and there's bubbles that are coming through. So I don't know if that's
the producer telling us, like,
I don't know. He's probably
the
like, get off.
music's coming on.
Yes, it's coming on. So no, so we appreciate you, Lisa. And you know, I guess the last thing is how can people get in contact with Restb.Ai or the website, you know, to look more in depth at maybe tutorials or anything else?
Yeah, if you actually just go under Restb.Ai, Restb.ai.com or .ai, no .com, sorry. All the solutions are up there. You can also reach out to you guys, Johnny, Netris, John Hawley and Cindy Miller. I put together like a 50-page marketing comms pack for them that talks about the training and education. So there's going to be like webinars and training and all of that rolling out. And that's through their vendor partner CoreLogic through Matrix. And so everybody's just kind of hands-on to make sure the products are deployed and everybody knows how to access them.
Awesome. Super exciting. Well, Lisa, enjoy the rest of your evening. You're in rain. We were in rain. So we're in like company, and we will absolutely see you very soon. Thank you for your dedication to the industry and all you've done. And I look forward to seeing you in May.
Thank you. Take me back anytime. I love this.
Okay.
This is fun.
Sounds great.
Bye-bye.
All right,
Thanks,
Lisa.
everyone.
We'll see you
Happy
very soon.
sailing.